The teasers dropped, the fandom went silent, and in an instant, the entire K-pop world was turned upside down.
Completely upside down.
Welcome to StarScope K-Report.
Ugh.
Join Eric and Minji as they ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates.
From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
And today, we are doing a massive deep dive into a headline that literally shook the music industry to its core. I mean, BTS just destroyed the Grammys, and guys, they are never coming back.
Never. It is just, well, it's hard to overstate how unprecedented this whole thing is.
It really is.
Like, we are watching a live high-stakes collision between this legacy Western institution, right, one that has, for decades, dictated what prestige means in music.
Yeah, totally.
And then you have this global music empire that basically looked at that institution and just decided, you know, we don't need your validation anymore.
Which is just a massive power move. And, to figure out how we got to this absolute breaking point, we've pulled a huge stack of sources for you today.
We really did our homework on this one.
Oh, absolutely. We're looking at on-the-ground industry reporting from the Chosun Ilbo, Korea Jungan Daily, and the Indian Express. Plus, we're comparing that against some Western perspectives from The Guardian.
Right, but we can't just look at the media.
Exactly. We are going straight to the netizens. We analyzed some super intense fandom discussions from Reddit's Popheads community, and we even dug into some staggering global tour data from the US BTS Army Hub.
Because our mission today is to really break down the mechanics of exactly why BTS is boycotting the 2027 Grammys.
Yeah.
We need to explore the deep historical friction between the Recording Academy and non-Western artists. And ultimately, we have to figure out what this massive power play means for the future of the global Hallyu wave.
Because it's not just about one band, right? Or one trophy.
No, definitely not. It's about who gets to define global culture.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the sheer dramatic impact of this announcement, it didn't happen by accident.
No, it was so incredibly calculated.
A highly synchronized strike. So set the scene for a moment for anyone who missed it. It's the morning of July 29.
Right.
All 7 members of BTS, RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and the maknae Jungkook, all of them.
Whole group.
They simultaneously posted the exact same message on their Instagram stories.
And just the visual of that alone is so striking. I mean, you have 7 massive global accounts, tens of millions of followers each, all dropping the same text at the exact same second.
Right. And the text, it read, quote, "We hope music can be heard and loved for what it is, rather than being divided by region or language."
Wow.
Yeah. And with that single sentence, they officially announced they would not submit their music for the 69th Grammys, which are happening on February 7, 2027.
It was so polite.
Very polite.
But such a devastatingly sharp rebuke at the same time.
It really was. And the precision of that statement is what makes it so powerful,
Yeah. Oh, totally. And to understand why they felt they had to make it, we really have to look at the catalyst.
The new category.
Exactly. It goes back to what the Recording Academy did in June of 2026. They introduced 5 new award categories to the Grammy lineup.
Right.
And the one that sparked this entire firestorm was this brand new category called Best Asian Pop Music Performance.
And as soon as that was announced, I mean, if you were in the fandom spaces, the alarm bells started ringing instantly. Netizens were not having it.
Not at all.
But I was looking at the Grammys' defense of this, right? And CEO Harvey Mason Jr., he actually claimed this was an additive measure.
Right, of course he did.
He released a statement expressing his sadness over BTS's decision. But he argued that this new category wasn't meant to divide artists.
Which is, well, an interesting take.
Right. His argument was that it expands the spotlight for the 15,000 Grammy voters. And he really insisted that submitting to an Asian pop category doesn't exclude an artist from the general fields, like, album of the year.
Right, the big 4.
Yeah, the major ones. But I have to ask you, does that argument actually hold water when you look at how the Grammys actually operate?
I mean, on paper, technically, yes. An artist can be nominated in a genre category and the general field at the same time.
Sure, technically.
But you really have to look at the psychology of the voting body. You have 15,000 voters, right?
Right.
And the vast majority of them are deeply entrenched in the traditional Western music industry. So when you create a highly specific regional category, you are implicitly telling those voters, hey, here's where you put these specific artists.
Oh, totally.
It gives the voting body this sort of psychological permission slip to recognize them over there in that box, and then they can reserve the top-tier general field slots for the traditional Western pop stars they already know.
It feels a bit like, being invited to a prestigious VIP gala, but when you arrive in your tuxedo, they tell you there's a special international guest table set up in the hallway.
Oh my gosh, yes, next to the kitchen.
Literally next to the kitchen. I mean, sure, the organizers tell you that you're technically allowed on the main floor to mingle, but the optics send a completely different message. You are being contained.
That is a perfect way to look at it. You really are. And that brings us to how HYBE, the corporate agency behind BTS, how they responded.
Right, their official statement.
Yeah, so HYBE released a statement clarifying that this is actually not a company-wide boycott.
Which surprised some people.
It did. Other artists under the HYBE umbrella can still submit their music to the Grammys if they want to, but they explicitly stated that BTS made this collective decision to, quote, protect the status and pride of the K-pop industry as a whole.
Protect the status and pride. That's heavy.
Very heavy. They clearly view this categorization as something that diminishes their global impact.
But let me push back on that for just a second, because we really have to look at the business reality here.
Okay, sure.
HYBE is a massive, publicly traded corporation. They know exactly how powerful the BTS fandom is.
Unstoppable, basically.
Right. So isn't it entirely possible that HYBE and BTS are just leveraging this for massive PR? Walking away from the Grammys makes them look larger than life, rebellious and untethered. Isn't this just a brilliant marketing stunt disguised as a principled stand?
I mean, it's a completely fair question, and the PR benefit is definitely undeniable. But you have to weigh that against what they're actually giving up here.
Which is a lot.
A ton. A Grammy win, even in a genre category, it triggers massive, quantifiable spikes in global streaming, back catalog sales, mainstream brand deals.
Yeah, that's true.
It opens doors to a demographic of older, legacy media consumers who might not otherwise engage with K-pop at all.
The people who still watch traditional TV.
Exactly. So walking away from that isn't just a PR flex. It's leaving millions of dollars of traditional industry leverage on the table.
Yeah, they wouldn't do it lightly.
No way. They wouldn't do it unless the perceived insult of the category heavily outweighed the financial benefit of the trophy.
And if you love staying updated on your favorites, make sure you're subscribed to StarScope K-Report, because we've got even bigger scoops ahead on this.
Yes, definitely hit subscribe so you never miss a KT update.
So, which brings us straight to the music itself, right? And why this specific moment was the absolute breaking point.
This is the crucial part.
Because here's where it gets really interesting. We have to talk about the album context, because the timing of this boycott revolves entirely around their latest comeback project, Arirang.
The comeback of the century.
Honestly, yes. This album dropped in March, and it wasn't just music. It was a cultural event.
Yeah, it was their highly anticipated reunion album after all 7 members finally completed their mandatory South Korean military service.
The hiatus was officially over, and the impact was just immediate.
Absolute perfection.
It achieved an instant all-kill, meaning it's simultaneously hit #1 on every single major South Korean music chart within hours of release.
Which is so hard to do now.
So hard. But what makes Arirang so crucial to this Grammy controversy is its composition. It was a massive return to their roots. Over 80% of the lyrics on this album are in Korean.
And that language ratio is the exact mechanical trap that makes the new Grammy category so controversial.
Wait, explain that.
So if you look at the fine print of the criteria for Best Asian Pop Music Performance, it specifically requires the, quote, meaningful use of one or more Asian languages.
Meaningful use, okay.
Now think about the tracks that K-pop artists have been pushing toward the Grammys over the last few years.
Right, like BTS's Dynamite and Butter.
Exactly.
Or, Jungkook's solo work like Golden from that K-pop Demon Hunters movie. Or even Rosé's massive recent hit APT.
Right. Those tracks were heavily or even entirely in English.
Yeah, they were.
And because of that, under these new rules, they likely wouldn't even qualify for the Asian pop category. They would just be considered pop. But Arirang, because it is overwhelmingly in Korean, it forces the issue perfectly. It fits exactly into this new regional box the Recording Academy just built.
And the fandom saw right through the mechanics of that.
They miss nothing.
If you dive into the Reddit Popheads community, the discussion wasn't just about feeling insulted. It was about pointing out this glaring structural irony.
Yeah, the guaranteed win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of this new category, BTS was essentially guaranteed to win their first Grammy this year.
Basically a lock.
The Recording Academy essentially built a bespoke category just for them and served the trophy up on a silver platter.
And it was overwhelmingly viewed by the fan base and honestly many industry critics as a consolation prize.
100%.
Like if you're listening to this and you've ever been passed over for a major promotion at work only to be handed an Employee of the Month certificate instead,
Yeah.
you understand the psychology here.
This is insulting.
Very. One Reddit user pointed out that for years, the Grammys have utilized BTS to boost their struggling television ratings, right?
Oh, for sure. They invite them to perform. They tease their categories right before commercial breaks just to keep the fandom watching.
But they never hand them a major award.
Never.
The profound irony is that on the year the win was practically contractually assured, BTS decided they didn't want the platter. They just walked away.
And that walking away sparked an absolute revolt online.
It was crazy.
Domestic Korean fans, the K-netz, and the international fandom joined forces to initiate a massive Grammy block movement.
I've never seen anything like it.
We are talking about millions of fans globally organizing to systematically unfollow, block, and algorithmically quarantine all of the Recording Academy's official social media accounts.
And just as that block movement was reaching a fever pitch, the plot thickened in a way that fueled 1,000 conspiracy theories.
Oh, this is the wildest part.
Media outlets like Popcore and Pop Empire suddenly noticed something really strange on the official Grammy website.
The vanishing videos.
Yes.
Guys, BTS's 2021 and 2022 Grammy performance videos, the iconic Dynamite and Butter stages, they mysteriously disappeared from the Recording Academy's digital archives.
Which naturally led to an absolute explosion of accusations.
Oh, the fandom went to war.
The fandom immediately assumed the Academy was engaging in petty retaliation against BTS for the boycott.
I mean, it looks terrible.
Now, was it a deliberate removal by a frustrated Grammy executive or just a terribly timed server migration glitch? We don't actually know for sure.
True. We don't know the tech side.
But in the court of public opinion, the timing was disastrous. It reinforced the exact narrative the fandom had been shouting for years.
Which is that the Recording Academy only respects non-Western artists as long as they stay in line and play by the Academy's rules.
Exactly.
And that's not even the wildest part of this whole situation, because later in the episode, we'll talk about the massive power shift happening right now.
You definitely want to stick around for that.
But first, this whole disappearing video thing, it solidified this belief that the Grammys are actively constructing a glass ceiling to keep non-Western artists out of the major categories.
A glass ceiling that has been there for a long time.
Right. And the thing is, if you pull back and look at the broader music industry, this isn't just some isolated K-pop conspiracy theory. There is a deep, documented historical pattern here.
The systemic pattern is completely undeniable. The Grammys have faced decades of criticism over a so-called white Grammy bias, where the opaque evaluation process historically favors white pop artists in those top 6 general field categories, while systematically marginalizing Black and Latin artists.
Let's look at the precedents from the source material, starting with The Weeknd.
Oh, the After Hours snub.
In 2020, he released After Hours. The lead single, Blinding Lights, was arguably the most inescapable song on the planet.
It's literally everywhere.
It broke Billboard chart records that had stood for decades. And yet, when the Grammy nominations came out, he was completely shut out.
0 nominations.
0. He ended up boycotting the ceremony entirely, arguing that the voting process was inherently corrupt and lacked any real transparency.
And then you have Tyler, the creator.
Oh, his press conference was legendary.
So legendary. He actually won Best Rap Album for Igor in 2020. But instead of just giving a standard acceptance speech, he used his press conference to publicly dissect the Academy's categorizations.
Right.
He explicitly pointed out that the Recording Academy treats the word urban as a politically correct racial slur.
Wow.
Because Igor was a massive genre-defying blend of soul, funk, and synth pop. But because Tyler is a Black artist, the Grammys quarantined the album into the rap and urban categories.
And the most direct parallel to this specific BTS situation is Bad Bunny.
Definitely.
In 2022, his album El Último Tour del Mundo literally made history. It was the first entirely Spanish-language album to ever top the U.S. Billboard 200 chart.
An absolute cultural juggernaut.
It was everywhere. Yet, at the Grammys, it was only nominated in the Latin Urbano category.
Unbelievable.
It's completely shut out of Album of the Year.
And what's fascinating here is that the creation of this new Asian pop category mirrors the exact strategy the Academy used when they were trying to figure out what to do with Latin music.
You explain that because that's super important.
Years ago, when the Grammys created Latin-specific awards, cultural critics warned them. They literally said, this is going to function as a loophole.
Let's break that loophole down because it's crucial. How exactly does a category become a loophole?
It goes back to the voter psychology we discussed earlier. If a Grammy voter sees a massive Latin artist breaking all the streaming records, they know they have to acknowledge them.
They can't just ignore them.
Right. But if that voter also really wants to vote for their favorite Western pop star for Album of the Year, the Latin category provides an out.
I see.
The voter can nominate the Latin artist in the regional category, feel like they did their job recognizing global diversity, and still keep the main stage clear for traditional Western acts.
And the K-pop industry watched that exact scenario play out with Latin music for a decade.
They took note.
HYBE and BTS clearly looked at the new Asian pop category and decided they were not going to subject themselves to the exact same mechanism.
I know, they refused to play the game.
Even Drake has called for the Grammy ceremony to be replaced entirely, saying the gap between the music that actually shapes global culture and the music that wins Grammys has just become too wide to take seriously.
He's not wrong.
So, if the Grammys have this documented history of isolating artists of color, and those very artists are the ones completely dominating the global streaming charts right now, it really begs the question, who actually holds the power in today's music industry?
Well, the metrics of success have completely inverted.
They really have?
It used to be that the institution held the power and the artist needed the institution to reach the audience. But to understand the power shift today, you just have to look at the sheer logistical scale of BTS right now.
The numbers are genuinely mind-boggling.
Insane.
They're currently embarking on their Arirang World Tour, which is an 85-date, completely sold-out global stadium run.
85 stadiums.
We are talking about the biggest venues on Earth. They kick off on April 9 in Goyang, South Korea. Then they hit SoFi Stadium in LA, Wembley in London, the Stade de France in Paris.
Selling out instantly.
Instantly. They're packing out colossal stadiums in Jakarta, Riyadh, Sao Paulo.
And they don't even need the tour to start to command a global audience.
Exactly. Before the tour even kicks off, their massive comeback live performance is taking place at the historic Gwanghwamun Square in Seoul.
Such an iconic location.
And instead of negotiating with traditional television networks, it's being broadcast worldwide, exclusively on Netflix, on March 21st.
That is just a massive flex.
The visual spectacle of millions of people tuning in simultaneously is going to stop the internet.
And that massive scale is exactly what music critic Lim Hee-yoon pointed out in his analysis for the Chosun Ilbo.
What did he say?
He noted that 20 years ago, reaching the Grammy stage was the ultimate, almost unattainable goal for Asian musicians.
It was the peak.
It was the absolute pinnacle of validation. But today, BTS's individual world tour revenues, their merchandising footprint, and their direct digital audience size actively rival and, in many metrics, completely exceed the entire cultural influence of the Grammy broadcast itself.
Wow.
They don't need the Academy to access a global audience because they are the global audience.
It's a total paradigm shift. And beyond just the numbers, there is a fundamental cultural disconnect at play here in how music is consumed, right?
Absolutely. Pop culture critic Kim Hernsik highlighted a brilliant point regarding this disconnect in the source material.
I love this part.
Yeah, so the Western pop industry generally evaluates artists as creators making music for passive listeners. Think of it like a restaurant.
Okay, a restaurant.
You go, you order the song on the radio or on Spotify, you consume the meal, and you leave.
But K-pop isn't a restaurant.
No, K-pop is an entirely different ecosystem. It's more like a massive, interactive, co-op community garden.
I love that analogy.
It is built on intense, daily, reciprocal relationships between the idol and the fandom. The fans are actively watering the plants every day with coordinated streaming parties.
Right, the streaming goals.
They're buying physical albums to boost chart numbers, they are creating elaborate fan chants for live shows, and they are fiercely defending the artist online.
It's a fully participatory culture.
Exactly. So when the Grammys reject or quarantine BTS, they aren't just evaluating a song. They are telling millions of active participants that their collective effort isn't good enough for the main stage.
Which is just going to enrage them.
Right. The traditional Grammy criteria are fundamentally unequipped to measure K-pop's true cultural impact because they are trying to measure a community garden using the metrics of a fast food restaurant.
So what does this all mean? As I was reading through all these sources, I kept going back to a quote that RM gave to GQ earlier this year.
Oh, I know the exact
He
one.
simply said, quote, "We do not desperately want the Grammys."
And everyone thought he was just playing it cool.
Right. At the time, people thought he was just brushing off a loss. But in hindsight, he wasn't playing. He was telegraphing this exact moment.
He knew.
They have reached a level of global saturation where they can simply look down on the institution. They realize they don't need to beg for a seat at a table that was never built for them, you know?
Yeah.
They already built their own mansion.
And it's a mansion that the entire legacy music industry is currently standing outside of, trying to figure out how to get into.
Literally.
This deep dive really highlights a critical moment in how we think about media consumption. When you, as a listener, are engaging with media, art, or music, it's vital to step back and ask yourself, who is actually building the boxes we put these artists into?
That is the question.
Are those boxes meant to elevate them, to celebrate their unique origins, or are those boxes designed to contain them to protect the traditional hierarchy of the industry?
That is the perfect question to ask. We've traced this story from a shocking, synchronized Instagram announcement that literally silenced the internet, down through the deep-rooted historical biases and voting loopholes of Western music awards, and finally arrived at a realization that the global music landscape has simply outgrown the traditional gatekeepers.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is really about the democratization of global culture.
Yeah, it's bigger than K-pop.
For decades, legacy institutions dictated what was considered prestige art. But the internet, borderless global streaming, and the sheer mobilizing power of dedicated fandoms have shattered that monopoly.
Completely shattered it.
BTS walking away from a guaranteed Grammy isn't just a K-pop story. It's a declaration of independence for global pop music as a whole.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day or look at your own streaming stats.
Something to think about.
We talked about that VIP gala
Yeah.
and being seated at the international table in the hallway.
Yeah.
If regional and genre-specific awards are increasingly being rejected by the very global superstars they are desperately designed to attract, what happens next?
That's the million-dollar question.
Will legacy institutions like the Grammys eventually be forced to completely abolish all genre categories and host one massive, borderless global competition?
Could you imagine?
Or will they simply refuse to adapt and slowly fade into irrelevance as artists just continue to build their own empires entirely outside those walls? It's going to be fascinating to watch.
It really is.
You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories to keep the stars shining.